Well, hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Um, yeah, so I'm a high school student that lives in the Bay Area. And I'm currently going through the college admissions process for the UCs and Common App and all that stuff right now. And I'm looking to pursue a career in the space industry, but I'm looking for like doing an electrical or mechanical major first. So yeah.
I noticed you have like the rocket models in the back there.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, that one back there was more of a like a proof of concept um, for like first developing the thrust vector control. I wasn't the first person, but that was like more of our test model. Our more official model is over at one of my friend's house right now. And we have it already, and we're trying to like we can fly it, but we just can't get our hands on an F motor, which we kind of need to launch it because um, yeah, we just can't get our hands on one. That's the only thing that's holding holding back this project. So yeah.
Um, how long have you been using thrust vector control?
Um, I think we started back um, back in December of 2019 was like when we first started brainstorming how we were going to approach it. Um, yeah,
And you haven't had any test flights yet because of not being
yeah,
able to
we
find the F motor.
can't find any motors, right? I've gone to like a couple stores around my areas that supposedly sell them, and they all said they were sold out. I went online and bought from a few places that said they had them in stock, but then they ended up emailing me that they didn't have it in stock after I bought it. So I don't know.
Um, wow, why do you think that is?
It's during COVID right now. A lot of the factories are shut down. I think the main place that makes them is like F State, and I feel like their factories are down right now. So no one really has them unless the people who hoarded them do. But I don't know who those people are.
And then also, I guess you have people at home looking for something to do that's COVID safe, and shooting model rockets should be COVID safe.
Yeah, yeah, you know, I just need to find like a giant field that no one would care for or call the police on me for, because in California there's really no places to launch a model rocket, even the tiny kid ones. So yeah, I mean the thrust vector control only goes like with our simulations, it only goes like 100 meters, which is not terribly high. Like there could be worse, and it's not going to drift too far, hopefully.
And what do you use to simulate?
Oh, we just use Open Rocket.
Oh, Open Rocket? I've
Yeah.
never heard of it actually. That's amazing. So what got you into thrust vector control in December of last year?
Um, Honestly, it's BPS dot space or Joe Barnard.
Is-
When I saw his videos, I was like, I want to do that.
yeah, they're pretty awesome. He talked about originally trying to get into it to get a job at SpaceX, but then even after those opportunities became available, he was having so much fun with the BPS, he decided to stick with that.
Yeah, yeah, I heard about that.
So, do you dream of working in an aerospace company that we know about?
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to work at SpaceX. I mean, that's a cool company.
Help build the Starship?
Yeah, help finalize it. I don't know. It might take it might be done by the time I get to be working at that company, or it might be almost done, which is kind of cool.
I know it's if they stay on track with NASA and the 2024 moon landing. I mean, that would be happening your senior year in college about now, probably.
Yeah. What do you Wait, what is NASA gonna be using to get to the moon?
They have a very complicated system. So they're planning to use SLS and Orion to get the astronauts around the moon and then dock with a commercially provided human landing system that they've selected three different teams for. You know, the national team by Blue Origin,
Yeah.
Dynetics, and SpaceX has a moon human lander that they're planning to use a Starship for. So that could be exciting.
Hmm. Uh, why are they using uh, uh, the solid rocket motors? Isn't that outdated 70s technology?
So says the person looking for an F motor. No, just kidding.
Okay, okay, but like they're whole different things. Like I just right now I can't move on to a liquid engines, mainly because I'm not a fluids person yet, and I have absolutely no clue about the engineering behind that. When it comes to solid rocket motors, I mean that like NASA should upgrade.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of politics around it. Um, pretty much there's the Senator Orrin Hatch who, um, in order for him to support the program, he wanted to make sure that Northrop Grumman, which is in his district, got part of the work, and they're the ones that make the um, solid, um, you know, rocket motors used in the space shuttle and for the SLS. So there's a lot of technical reasons why people say that they're a good thing to do in terms of the power and shelf life and things like that. But it's hard to say how much of those are truly technical reasons versus cover for maybe the political reasons.
Yeah,
But
I mean you don't want another shuttle accident, so.
well, that's true too. But I think the analysis of that one is they had launched the shuttle on the coldest day ever it had been launched, and the O-ring segment, the O-rings that was sealing the segments were too cold. Then they didn't expand and fill in that gap as much, which caused the, um,
Yeah, the
you know,
little
the
blast through the entire rocket. Mhm.
exactly, exactly. But well, what were you doing before December of last year in terms of space and rocketry?
Um, I was mainly just like this whole project really started when I started the club at my school, Bishop O'Dowd. Um, it was pretty like I made the club quite like impulsively. Like it was mainly because like I didn't really know exactly what to do, as well as a series of like rejections to leadership positions. So I was kind of just like really wondering like what do I want to do? Like what do I actually want to do? I had little to no knowledge when it came to coding, CAD, modeling, um, 3D printing, like almost any skill set that you'd need to start to actually do the project. Um, so like starting the club, which I had little to no like actual experience, like helped like boost. Well, first of all, now I have funding, and second of all, like it really helped me like start, you know, like my independent study for like learning how to use, Fusion 360, and then, using like a little C++ like learner online, which, helped me learn also like Arduino C, since it's almost exactly the same thing, just a few differences. Yeah. and then like it took like a couple months of me just learning it until we actually like fully actually started the whole project. But before that, I was just more like admiring SpaceX and seeing what they were doing. But like I never really exactly like rationalized like what they were doing. But then when I saw Joe Barnard, I was like, oh, like that's possible, but like at a smaller scale. Um, Especially with him trying to land the model rocket like the Echo when I first saw that like back in 2019. Um, yeah, I never thought about it like possible for like a high school student to even like scratch the surface of that, but you know, nothing's impossible.
Yeah, I mean that shows a lot of initiative. I mean that's really an amazing story. I hope other people I kind of follow your example.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. All like the CAD models that I made for my project, most of the code minus the actual thrust vector control code because I don't want to release it for legal reasons, I guess. Because when I did release it, and like I don't know, the BPS server got mad at me, so I took it down. They said it's a violation of the ITAR, which is kind of dumb because it's not directional code, it's stabilization code, but it's whatever. Um, uh, yeah,
Yeah, that's ITAR is a big pain.
yeah, it really is. It's mostly just outdated Cold War era stuff that hasn't been updated and should be updated or possibly like completely changed, but it's not. But it's like rarely enforced, I've heard. So,
I mean, it's just looking at like that attack on the uh, oil refineries in Saudi Arabia from Qatar. I mean, they use drones with explosives. You know, I mean, if you want to do some bad stuff, you don't need rockets anymore.
yeah, yeah, drones with the explosives will do the job. Yeah, if you want like a really accurate like pinpoint, but like then it would be easier to spot. But you know, interesting.
Yeah, there's a, I forget, it's like this, um, Morgan Freeman's the president of the United States, and there's like this military contractor that's trying to get like this government contract, but there's a scene in it where they like launch like thousands of drones from like the back of a van to like try to assassinate the president. But it's just like a overwhelming scene, and you know, on one hand you're like, oh, that's a movie, but on the other hand you're like, you know, you see what like Intel did with like their little light show and the
Yeah,
1,000 drones they had. I mean, really, it's all possible.
yeah, yeah. I saw that. That was really cool. Like they can make words on the sky and like little animations. Kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is. Um, so when did you find out that we were planning to go to the moon in 2024?
Um, I might have read upon it like in the news a while ago, but I didn't really fully look upon it when until I saw your little submission in the server, the Discord.
I've talked to over 250, I've done over 250 interviews, and it's kind of funny. You started on a whim. You started your rocket club in December of 2019, and on a whim, I started this project at the same time. I was Christmas break, and you know Doug Laverio. He was used to be the NASA administrator in charge of the manned space flight program, and he had a lapel pin that he was counting down the days to the end of 2024, and he was highlighting like a NASA person of the day. And for some reason, I got like this idea of interviewing a person a day. And once I got started, now I'm stuck with it. So But at least there's an end point. So I only have 1,588 more days to go, or 87.
That's a lot of people in a lot of days.
It is. It's been really fun so far. I've reconnected. I was planning to do all of them in person, like at Starbucks, because I work from home and I thought it'd be good. But with COVID, I'm reaching out online. But it's been kind of neat reconnecting with family and friends and lots of other people too.
Yeah.
Uh, but of those 250 plus interviews, only about 50 of them knew we were going to the moon. And does that surprise you that so few people know?
Um, I mean, there's NASA doesn't like boast advertisement online that we're going to the moon like they were back in the space race anymore. But I mean, I don't know about it honestly. Like I heard SpaceX talking about it with the whole competition. Like I feel like the moon's not exactly the best place to like put humans on. Like yeah, it's cool and it'll be a nice isolation experiment, but uh, I like Mars seems a little bit more hopeful in terms of like turning the planet into like another Earth or like something close to it.
What do you think about using the moon for resources, like for mining aluminum and water and those types of things?
I honestly have no clue what's on the moon, but to get to the point of mining it and then transporting it to the Earth or wherever seems pretty far fetched, but anything's possible. I have absolutely no clue what resources the moon has.
Well, you'd want to mine it and use it in place probably, like to build habitats and rockets and more industrial equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah.
Solar panels. There is a paper about making solar panels from the materials on the moon, and then you could use that for like space-based solar power.
Hmm. But like, I, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that could be possible. Yeah, I mean that seems like a lot of where we'd have to put probably factories on the moon. But like at that point, you don't want humans running the factory because that just seems like a bad idea. I feel like it could be automated with the right robots.
Yeah, it would have to be, I would think. I mean, robotic mining, refining, manufacturing. I mean, can you imagine this? Um, so you have the 3D printer there, and I have a 3D printer, and I spend so much time just trying to get like the bed like leveled. It's just like
Yeah,
so upsetting. You like get a few layers down, and then the thing starts to move, or one anyway, whatever. I'm sure you've experienced all those things too.
yeah.
As, so it's very easy to have that 3D printer and think, wow, there's no way we could create like a manufacturing device that could be completely independent. But I think the 3D printers we have are like really kind of like the wrong design in terms of automated manufacturing type thing.
Yeah.
But can you imagine a situation where you have robotic mining of the moon, robotic refining of those resources, and robotic manufacturing? And then you just send the plans for better things to the moon, and you send the plans for probes to the moon, and they're built on the moon. Like, I mean, at that point, essentially the cost of putting things on the moon becomes free. It's just simply time. You're just how
Oh,
long will it take for it to make?
interesting. Yeah. Like with okay, with solid rocket motors, like, you know, you can't exactly make that like autonomous where it'll like go out there, land itself, because that's just not possible. Or yeah, I mean, even Joe Barnard's experience, like he hasn't done it yet, and he's tried it a million times. But with SpaceX, with like their super refined code and the ability to land itself, I feel like automation can be quite possible, where they would probably have to have a robot that'll like dock, like take out the materials, like build it on the moon, and then also like be able to fill the rocket with stuff and then just like let it rip back to Earth. Um, yeah, it sounds like an ambitious future, but you know, that's what I'm getting myself into, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I think the value of the stuff on the moon would be more useful on the moon than on Earth, probably. But if you were trying to get stuff back to the Earth, why not use like some type of railgun type of thing? You don't have an atmosphere, and you could just kind of shoot stuff off the moon at the right time with the right velocity and have it fall into low Earth orbit.
uh, hmm. I feel like that can be dangerous, but like a lot of it could be burned up by the atmosphere. I might be wrong, but and then it also landing in random places unless they have it perfectly calculated. Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that sounds a little bit too far fetched.
Um, so when you think about the future of humanity, like 500 years from now, what do you think humanity looks like? And 500 years is not just an arbitrary date because if you go back 500 years, you're looking at the time that Christopher Columbus came to the New World. You're looking at the life of Leonardo da Vinci, that that time period, right? Um, so I'm just kind of, and we've gone so much in the past 500 years. I mean, just think about 500 years ago, we didn't even know about electromagnetism, much less receiving and generating radio waves. We didn't know about electricity, um, in the sense, I mean, uh, the idea of having computers was just beyond imagination, right? Computers was the name of a profession of somebody who actually sat there and did math on paper and pen. You know, they were
Hmm.
computers. Just like a printer used to be a person too, and still is in some cases. But so 500 years from now, where do you think we are?
Um, well, I like the whole idea with like the Moore's law, where it's like how computers are like doubling in process and like ability to like just like compute in like a smaller and smaller space. And like there's like times where like everyone's like, oh, there's no way it can be more like um, like compact and like more processing power, but like the in every 2 years it seems to like always double itself. But you know uh, it's kind of like the last couple hundred years where like the humanity in the past like even like 10 years has done so much. So in 500 years, dang, that seems really long. um I would say, you know hopefully we have like a pretty colonized Mars. um uh, Earth, on the other hand, might not be doing so well at the rate that we're going, but hopefully someone fixes it, where, we stop carbon emissions, start looking towards, caring for the Earth, and, everything's more like, I mean, I don't know about electric. Like, electric's good, but at the same time, the places generating electricity is like not the best thing. These are like, using coal for. So I feel like Earth would be filled with like really advanced solar panels that can like absorb like, you know, they don't, they, all the energy comes in, they just absorb it all. Um, wind power could be, probably in a lot of places that are really, really windy, I guess. Um, I don't know about the population of Earth though, because like I've heard that like um, with the whole population going up, like there'll be a point where resources can't exactly maintain the amount of people that there are. Um, so not exactly sure how many people there will be on Earth, or even on Mars, or even maybe on the Moon, or even further than that. I have absolutely no clue. Um, there, uh, yeah, I don't know about the population. I'd say there could be, there might be less than now. I don't know. I mean, there might be more, but there will probably in the future be like a great famine or something. Um, Should be kind of sad, but it's what scientists have been saying for a while. So
Well, scientists, have to work with the facts they know about, and they're constantly learning new facts and ways to interpret them. So,
yeah,
um,
I mean, with like opening up to a lot of new resources that the moon might offer, like the Mars might offer, like hey, it might be solved, and like all those conspiracy theories can finally be put away or something. I don't think they'll ever stop. It's kind of dumb.
but the number one thing that I think we need is energy, right? And you were talking about producing electricity, causing, if we use coal to produce electricity, that's bad. But one thing to keep in mind is the sun is producing so much energy, and all the energy that the sun produces, only like 1/700 billionth of it actually falls on the earth and is used, uh, on the earth at all. Most of it is just going out into free space, uh, and isn't even falling on any planet. It's just like completely just radiating out. Now, if you create solar panels in space, then you're able to take advantage of this energy that's not even falling on the earth, and you don't have to worry about the weather because you could put it where the sun's falling on it all the time.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's completely, yeah, that's possible.
But on top of that, if you're worried about global warming, kind of an interesting place to put a big array of solar panels could be at the L1 liberation point between the Earth and the Sun. So there's a place as you travel from the Earth directly to the Sun where the gravitational forces of both balance out, and you're being pulled equally in both directions. Now that's always going to be between the Earth and the Sun, and if you build a big enough array there, it helps to like maybe shade the Earth, so you can actually kind of control the amount of radiation falling on the Earth.
Hmm. That would be a massive array.
It would be, but look at the moon, how much materials you have there, and then with our rail gun to shoot it over to the L1 point.
Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah, because like the moon with the solar eclipse. Yeah, that's
Now I
but
had a temperature sensor going during the solar eclipse, and we only had a partial eclipse here in Houston last
uh,
time we had eclipse. And I was tracking the temperature during that time. And at the time that we had the partial eclipse, it fell by a whole degree centigrade, which was kind of amazing whenever you think about it. That just like uh, I mean, you 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 could probably make the Earth as cold as you want.
yeah. Yeah, I was in it was a full eclipse in my area in California, but the only problem was like our whole school had like the eclipse glasses ready and everything, but it was really cloudy, so we didn't exactly see anything. So yeah, I kind of missed out on that, cool opportunity. I mean, everything got like a little bit dark, but other than that, we didn't exactly see a solar eclipse, which was kind of sad, but it's oh well.
So Andrew, if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yes.
How far would you go? Just like a suborbital flight on like Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin's New Shepard, or to orbit, or to the moon, or to Mars?
Suborbit, I mean, at that point, you might as well go into orbit. And then if you were to go on orbit, like, yeah, there's the ISS, but like, might as well take it further and just go to Mars.
Oh, so you would go on like, I mean, you're looking at about what, 5 months to get to Mars, and then maybe 2 years or year and a half for Mars and Earth to get aligned again for you to come back, another 5 months back. So you're probably looking at like 2.5 years to
Yeah,
Mars
I'm
back at
looking
the
at
middle.
like, yeah, like a 2.5 year journey. If yeah, about if not 3 years.
Now, how safe would it need to be before you go?
Um, as safe as Doug and Bob going up to the ISS.
That's cool. And how affordable? Now, not terms in actual money, but if you think about how much of your year's salary would you be willing to spend? Would you be willing to spend like uh, 10 years worth of income or half a year's worth of income? Like, what would you consider to be a worthwhile price?
Um, um, well, I mean, with Elon Musk saying that it'll cost like roughly 200,000, you know, or like sometimes I doubt 100 grand, but something where you can like if you hate Earth that much, you can just drop everything you have, sell all your possessions or most of your possessions, and then just go to Mars. I like how he was talking about that, but I'd say like that amount of money would be worth it, mainly because like if you really think about it, like there's at that time and period, it's like you're doing like potential probably like the greatest human journeys ever. Yeah, you have Christopher Columbus who crossed the sea, right, and found a whole giant continent, but you know, there's there's Mars. Like, there's like for some people, they can spot the moon, but they can't spot Mars in space, even though it is kind of like the red dot. Um, but it's like, yeah, like it's like the whole like space race all over again. It's like, hey, like people would die to go to the moon, like to step foot on the moon. It's like imagine stepping foot on Mars. Like, I feel like that's pretty priceless. Um, but hopefully you just don't die, get back home safe.
Yeah, indeed. Um, yeah, I think, have you ever been mountain climbing?
Um, I mean, not like extreme mountain climbing, but I've climbed a mountain or two in my life. That's like not the tallest ones, but like a mountain.
Did you have to use oxygen?
No,
Uh,
no.
yeah, it's just kind of funny. At the top of the tallest mountain on Earth is actually has much higher air pressure than the best places on Mars. It's like the atmosphere on Mars is like really, really thin, extremely
Yeah,
cold, and
you would have to like what Elon Musk was like thinking about. You would have to like really change the atmosphere to like for human life, which means that we would probably have to pump out carbon emissions and try to melt possible ice and get that to into the atmosphere, as well as pump out possible oxygen or just random thing like kind of like simulate the the atmosphere of Earth, but it would take an insanely long amount of time. Just think about like nuking like the ice caps or wherever there would be like water, because then that would create an intense heat that would like vaporize and like create, a like wannabe atmosphere of Earth, um, which it's kind of like the railgun idea, but it's just trying to whatever to get the atmosphere better over there.
Um, so in 500 years, you think humans would be able to walk without protection out in on Mars?
Um, well, with a nice sunblock, yeah.
Oh, and why do you say nice sunblock?
I doubt Mars has a good ozone, and ozone's pretty hard to replicate. And like even on Earth, like so there's some parts of the ozone that are just not good, and you know you can like we can't even fix that right now. I have absolutely no clue what they would do for. I mean, unless they have a giant solar panel array that's going to be blocking out a lot of the UV light, but other than that, there, you'd probably need some sunscreen.
Right. And apparently Mars doesn't have a magnetosphere like Earth does too, so you have trouble with the solar winds. And in fact, I think the current theories are that's what caused the atmosphere to disappear.
Yeah, I heard there was like the hairspray stuff. Shit, I don't know. I don't how much hairspray can actually do that, or people like straight up just spraying that into the air. And
But did you see the hair styles in the 1960s? They took a lot of hairspray. Maybe it's hard for us to understand in this modern time, but back then with the big poofy hairs.
like, wasn't that like caught in the hair, or did like the excess ended up like who does the like first of all like you're doing it in your home like like how does it kind of leave? Wouldn't it just like fall down on the ground or something? And since it's like probably heavier and that's how it sticks to your hair, I don't know. It's probably other factors as well.
Yeah, or maybe just the production of hairspray was the problem. Maybe it was even before you got the container.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
um what did other people end up talking about?
Well, originally I was planning to just talk to random people on the street, and so um, most of them were excited whenever they found out about it. Some of them were concerned about kind of like the opportunity cost. Why are we spending money going to space whenever we have poor people or climate change or uh, you know health issues? Some people were concerned about us polluting space. We mess up the Earth. Why would we mess up the moon too? Um, but generally, people are excited and supportive. Now that I'm doing them online, there's a little bit of selection bias, right? Asking a random person at Starbucks is going to get you a different set of answers than saying, "Hey, come sign up to be interviewed about the moon," which is probably going to have people that are interested about space.
Yes, on a Discord that everyone's already interested in space.
Oh, exactly. I have had some friends of family who were kind of like a nice random sampling too. And then, kind of like the people I went to high school with and what have you, they're kind of, um, most of them are non-space people too. So that kind of provided some things. But I think, uh, I think largely um, people are supportive of it and excited about it. Few people think that we'll actually be living throughout the solar system in the next 500 years, but um, I hope to change that.
Like out of the solar system.
Well, I just threw out the solar system. Like almost everybody thinks we'll be on Earth, just making these little trips.
What is the closest thing that's outside of the solar system?
I think it's like Proxima Centauri or something like that. It's like 1.5 light years away. Now, just to give you an idea, Voyager 2, which was launched in the 70s, it is only like about 15 light hours away, and it's been traveling for um, you know uh, 50 years at this point. So it took us 50 years to go 1.5 days away, or a
Hmm.
half a day away, and to go like a whole light year or what have you at that speed. I mean, you're looking at like hundreds of years, thousands of years. I haven't done the math, but I
Right.
think
Build a mega giant rocket, you know, like a humongous one using the resources of the moon, and you know, and just I actually that's. But like, what would be like the closest like human habitable one?
I think that you're talking about tens of light years away.
Yeah, you'd have to like make a whole spaceship that like functions as an Earth that like probably like a generation or two or three would pass until you actually get to the place. You have to have classrooms in there, like kind of like the like a Wally, like one of those spaceship thingies.
One big problem with the generation ships is what about the children and the grandchildren? I don't know about you, but my parents' goals and my goals are completely different. Like they I mean, can you imagine like the revolution after the next generation or generation after that gets born and having, what are we doing on this trip to like nowhere where nobody's there? We need to turn this around and get back to Earth. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, that is very much possible.
Um, there's a sci-fi book called Orphans of the Sky, written by Robert Heinlein, where it's based on a generation ship, but there is like some type of revolt, and there's like a loss of knowledge, and they forgot why they were on the ship and what the ship was, and they actually thought that the inside of the ship was like the entire universe because they're not seeing stars and stuff, right? Because it's
Mhm.
like designed as a big cylinder and it's spinning, and it's just kind of fascinating to think about. Um, uh, how knowledge gets transferred down the generations and how imperfect that process is. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Wait. So, what is this gonna turn into like a YouTube series or
Yeah. So all the interviews I published it unedited on countdowntothemoon.org, and I have a guy that's going through them at a week at a time, putting together like 5-minute clips. But
Mhm.
in terms of like what the eventual thing is, I don't know. It might be 6, 7, 8, 9 years before I figure that out. But I envision the whole project as being like a time capsule. So I think the 2020s are going to be to space exploration what the 1990s were to the internet. I mean, if you talk to somebody from like 1990 about email and web shopping and what have you, they would have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. I mean, we were very few people had computers. The ones that did, very few of them could actually connect that computer to any other thing. They had modems that they would dial into BBSs, where only one person could be like connected at a time. They could go and send messages to other people, and they had to disconnect, and then other people would contact them. So that was like the state of things in 1990. And then in like 1994, Amazon gets founded. Um, Mozilla or Netscape, sorry, Netscape goes public. And Netscape was like the first real, um, you know, consumer-oriented web browser. And then you really had the explosion towards the end of the 1990s. So of all these internet companies. So I think the 2020s are going to be like that. And so I envision this set of videos as being like a time capsule of what were people thinking and feeling and imagining right before this new space age. So
Yeah.
can you imagine? So you're a senior in high school. You have to go do research papers for like history and what have you. Imagine uh, a person just like you, but born on the moon or on Mars, like in 2100, and they're doing a high school paper for what were people thinking before the new space age, and then they come across the set of videos, and that's their
Yeah, like
source
it's
material.
perfect for like a documentary or like, like one of those educational videos. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So if you could talk to a space version of yourself, 100 years from now, what would you want them to know about your time?
A space version of me,
Yeah.
100 years. I mean, if I'm alive 100 years from now, or
No,
just
no. Somebody that's 17 years old, but born on Mars, and they're a senior in high school.
um, I um, haven't thought that far. Um, you know, like don't don't do what everyone's expecting you to do. I guess just like go in your own route. Um, Create something cool on the Mars, and yeah. I mean, I don't even know.
That's I think great advice, but that could be disastrous advice for those people in the generation ship.
Yeah, yeah, that could be really bad on the generation ship. Yeah, you don't want a giant, revolution that ends up destroying the ship or them turning it back to Earth. But yeah, I mean, like I don't even know. Like at that point, it's like if you're too far away, like that, you want to turn it back to Earth, but knowing that if you turn it back to Earth, you'll die never seeing Earth. Um, because if a whole generation passed getting there, what do you expect that you're gonna live trying to go back? So I, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it almost seems unethical to expect for your children and grandchildren to carry on your mission.
Yeah,
Um, in today's world. But we had like cathedrals that were built over hundreds of years with each of them making their contributions and what have you. Maybe you have the generation ship, but then you always have like every 100 years or so a ship going back. You're like, hey, you don't want to go? That's fine. Go back. It's like a safety valve. The people that want to keep going, keep going. If you want to go back, you go back.
yeah, that would be a long. Yeah, yeah, I don't know about maybe just make it into like a giant cult or something where like you kind of just just force not like force them, but like to the point where they just don't even know what reality is. So they just only know what you tell them, teach them in the so and so classrooms.
I mean, almost seems like the idea of putting people in hibernation for a few hundred years or thousands of years would be a lot easier because you don't have to worry about feeding them to the same extent. You don't have to give them as much room. Plus, the same people that arrive are the same people that left.
Yeah, but then the whole like technology would be completely different by the time that they got to the place that they were going towards. So like you never know. They might there could be a whole nother ship that passes them, and once they get there, it's like there's already like a whole colonized place. That would be really cool, like to experience that, where like you're going to a place thinking that you're the very first people ever to go, just for like technology like over here to like advance enough that they build like a mega ship that just zooms straight past you, make a giant civilization, and then by the time you get there, they're just like welcome, and you're like, are you guys aliens?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, you have like this huge welcoming party whenever you arrive. Everybody's like dressed up in like ancient time dress just to try to, make you feel welcome. But they don't
um,
quite get it right. And the people are like, it looks sort of like what we remember, but it's not quite right because they probably lost what it was really like. Um, and yeah, and the people are trying to speak with the right accent and the right words from the
yeah,
period. Like languages moved on, and yeah,
you know,
that would be
it'll,
a really a fun story.
yeah, it'll sound like, like it's like how like the Shakespearean time, like if you thought like that was just hard to understand, like that's how everyone talked back then. So, like, imagine what people would talk in the future. So, like, it probably will be pretty hard to understand. You might get like a broad understanding of what they're talking about, but like English could possibly change as an entire whole, or like an entire language switch might happen. Like, you don't even know.
Yeah, indeed, it's kind of interesting to think about. And just looking at dominant languages on Earth, Spain and Portugal were the ones that were really spreading out around the world, and you know other than Brazil, Portuguese is only pretty much spoken in Portugal and Brazil, and Spanish is spoken in lots of places, but really doesn't feel like it's going to be a global language. English, because of the British Empire, is like all over the place, but with like China kind of becoming more and more economically powerful, you can kind of see the day where maybe Chinese is like the common language that's spoken around the world.
Yeah, like uh, my mom was talking about like if like during World War II, if the Nazis like took the entire Earth in command, there's a high possibility that everyone would be speaking German, um, or would like have been forced to speak German, um, or like because like everyone else is going to be talking in German, so you kind of have to understand it, which is interesting. It might be a second language or your first language when growing up.
Yeah, or something completely new. There is like that. Uh, I mean, one problem of taking an existing language and making it like the dominant language is it feels like you're being dominated from wherever the source of that language is from. So there was that attempt to come up with a artificial language, Esperanto, um, which the idea was everybody would adopt this artificial language, which would take the best things from all these languages. And since it was a new language, it wouldn't be really have that same sense of domination. But as you can see, you don't see many people speaking Esperanto.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I think they even made a few movies in it. Clearly not blockbusters.
Yeah.
So, well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I'll keep an eye out for those F motors. If I find some, I'll send you a link to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. At this point, I just I might even buy off of somebody who has them or hoarded them. I'll pay a premium on it.
Have you thought about making your own motors?
Um, I've heard that you'd have to put in the same amount of time that it would take to like to make a thrust vector control to make your own motors. um, and it's extremely dangerous. So I probably won't take that route. Um, I feel like the jump to liquid engines would be far, you know, far better and probably safer than to make your own motors. And plus, like, all the servers that I'm in on Discord for BPS, like, they have a rule that's like really against talking about making your own motors or even making your own motors because it's like highly dangerous. And they share a couple videos where, like, people are like 10 feet away from it, or if they were closer than that, they would have had their hand blown off because, like, the whole rocket just ends up exploding. So yeah, I probably won't make my own motors, but um, like in college, I know a few. The colleges might make their own, or um, yeah, I probably won't pursue it independently.
That makes sense. Well, okay. You have a good rest of your day, and thank you
All
so
right.
much again for helping with my project.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you have a good day as well.
Bye bye.
Bye.